Hey everyone, welcome to Bytes and Barriers. My name is Ben, and I am the host of this show slash podcast. Now, this show is primarily going to be about cybersecurity and anything tech related, essentially. Now, this episode and the next episode, we will be doing a highlighted overview of cybersecurity. Now, the reason I say a highlighted overview is because in cybersecurity, depending on what lane you are in, there is so much information that you have to learn and know and skill sets that you have to develop and build. And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know everything, because I don't. I'm continuously learning every single day. Cybersecurity is a very, very big passion of mine, and I just love it. So I figured, why not start a show about it and share it with people who may want to be learning things about it as well. Now that that's been said, today's episode, we will be covering layers of cybersecurity, the principles of cybersecurity, and lastly, tools and technologies. So, with all of this being said, let's jump right in. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, what is cybersecurity? Well, cybersecurity is about safeguarding our total online existence. We live right now in a day and age where our personal and our professional lives are continuously growing online. Like it's insane how interconnected we are with the digital world. Now, think of cybersecurity as a safety net for that interconnected world. Okay, let's talk about the layers of cybersecurity. So first up is physical security. This is about protecting the physical equipment that you touch. So we're talking your phones, tablets, computers, laptops, servers. They all need this protection. And physical security is, well, that's part of the foundation of cybersecurity. It's the tangible part of the intangible world. Next up is network security. So this is all about protecting and securing the connections between computers. So imagine a superhighway, and there's a bunch of cars that drive down it. And as these cars drive down this highway, they come across checkpoints they have to go through. As they go through these checkpoints, they get properly vetted and allowed to pass on. All this is doing is ensuring that the flow of data stays clean and secure. Next is information security. Now, this is about keeping the core of your data, protected in its purest essence. Like, it's about protecting the core of your data. So imagine a safe inside of another safe. Only the right people have the right access or keys to get into it. And, that's the point. You don't want the wrong people having access to the wrong things. So it's all about the right access goes to the right people. And also, information security is honestly the core of digital security. Next up, which is also the last thing, is operational security. So this is all about keeping the show on the road, like keeping the wheels moving so you keep moving forward. It's about keeping the gears always working properly, nothing's getting bound up. So let me put it this way. Imagine a NASCAR track, and there's a bunch of cars racing around this track. If the cars, when they're racing, if they never stopped into the pit crew to get their tire changed, stuff like that, and they just kept driving on the track, well, their tires would blow out, they'd probably blow a head gasket, you name it. Something horrible would go wrong. Well, that's the whole point of the pit crew. So the cars, as they're racing, they'll swing into the pit crew, and the pit crew will do their awesome job in being very fast and efficient, and they will change out those tires and do what else they have to do to get that car back on the track, continuing the race. Well, in cybersecurity, operational security is the pit crew of cybersecurity, plain and simple. They keep the show on the road. And I know that there's I'm sure you've heard the saying of the magic that goes on behind the scenes. Well, in this case, it's not that there's a bunch of magic going on behind the scenes. It's just plain old good hard work. And it's being done by people to ensure that things are moving and improving and constantly able to keep moving forward without skipping a beat or running into a speed bump. And that's blatantly what's going on. All right, now let's talk about the principles of cybersecurity. This is also known as the CIA Triad, which is an acronym for confidentiality, integrity, and lastly, availability. Starting with confidentiality, this All this is about is ensuring that your private information stays just that, stays private. So imagine being in a soundproof room and the only people allowed and meant to hear what's being said would be inside this soundproof room. All this is about is that ensuring that your personal matters stay personal and your secrets stay secret. Next up is integrity. So this is about your data staying in its most original and purest form and being untampered, right? So imagine a masterpiece painting and it's put inside of an airtight box. It's protected from the elements, the weather, people, trying to touch it and vandalize it. No one can mess with it. It's protected and it's kept in its most purest form. And that's the point. Lastly is availability. So this is all about access when you need it. So imagine a digital library, and this digital library is open whether it's storming or sunny or raining, it doesn't matter. It's all about you have access to it at any given time. Heck, there could be meteor showers, there could be earthquakes, flash floods, alien invasion. Wouldn't put them past anybody right now for that. Sorry, it's a joke. But you get what I'm trying to say. It's about access when you need it. There won't be any hurdles you have to jump through. Direct access to you no matter what, when you need it. Now, let's talk about tools and technologies. The first thing we're going to discuss is firewalls. They are basically your digital bodyguard. They check every single packet of data that comes and goes. They are also the ones that keep an eye on the digital party that's on the opposite side of the wall. They make sure only the right data gets through. There's no frills about this, just plain old tough security. And I have a saying, keep it tight and right. And what I mean by that is that, depending on what firewall you're trying to utilize or set up or use, whatever it is, you want to make sure you're not cutting any corners. Like, do your research, make sure you're implementing the right ones and doing it the right way. Don't cut corners, because if you don't, that's why I say the whole keep it tight and right. Make sure everything's to a T, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, the works. Because if you don't do that, well, you're leaving things loose and you're cutting corners. And well, that's going to create some vulnerabilities for you on a security, side of things. So you don't want that. Next up is antivirus software. So antivirus is essentially like a doctor for your computer. So you go to the doctor, for checkups and make sure that you're not sick or you don't have any viruses you don't know about, things of that nature, because you want to make sure you're healthy. Well, that's what antivirus is doing. It essentially scans files and looks for digital germs. It makes sure that your computer is in tip-top shape, and if it does find something, it wants to take care of it. It wants to say, hey, we have a problem. Like, I just found this virus or this germ that's here. Like, hey, the computer has a cold. Let's fix this. That's the whole point of it. It's the doctor for your computer. Plain and simple. Next is encryption. So this converts your data into code, so only the right people can read it. So imagine a secret handshake between friends, or a digital handshake that ensures privacy, right? It's about, your messages would be unreadable to prying eyes that you don't want to be able to read it. It's common sense security in, this complex world. And it's also a simple concept with a very powerful impact. Now, let's talk about multi-factor authentication. So this is all about ensuring you are you. So imagine, let's picture a house, and currently right now, the lock that's on the front door is just one of those little old school cheap locks that are easy to break, where it's just a little chain that you loop over and you put it in the groove and slide it down. Well, when multi-factor authentication comes into place, now instead of having that one weak little lock, now you have a deadbolt, right? And you have a lock that's actually on the handle of the door. So now there are there's multiple steps now to unlock that door to get in. All it's doing is it's ensuring that you are you, and it's making it harder for people who are trying to be imposters or pretend to be you, whatever you want to call it. It helps keep them at bay and makes it harder for them to get into places they're not supposed to be, especially when it's your place. Lastly, virtual private networks. also known as VPNs. And what VPNs do is that they provide a private path through the public internet. It's like a express lane that avoids all the crowds. It allows you to move unseen and unrestricted. It's not about secret tunnels, it's all about private access. And honestly, it's the smart way to navigate the digital landscape. And that's it for part 1. Part 2 will be covering understanding and combating threats, strategies and best practices, and security policies and training. That will be primarily all we talk about in part 2. So, like I said before at the beginning of this whole episode, this is just a highlighted overview. There's a lot more we could go into, and I'm going to try to go into more things in future episodes as they come along, and try to peel back layers and certain topics to the best of my ability. And like I said from the beginning, I'm also continuously learning myself, and I'm excited to learn something right with you as we do this, in the future episodes. Now, one thing I want to make clear with this show / podcast, I will have episodes here. I have a few loaded up and on the books to be doing with actual other people who are in cybersecurity and have some good conversation about certain topics in cybersecurity. And that's where the podcast side of things comes to place. Because if I did every episode like this is kind of more of a show than really a podcast. But my goal with it is to kind of be a hybrid of both, where I do episodes like this and other episodes where I have genuine conversation with people who are, well established in the field and have a good knowledge set, and have that really cool dynamic happen where we get to have that unfiltered conversation and really talk about the depth of it. So I'm excited for the future of this. I'm really happy I was able to start it and do this episode. So stay tuned the next time, and I'll see you guys later.